Welcome into episode 99 of the Godly Young Men podcast. As you can see, we did tease it last week, a very, very special episode right before episode 100, which will also be very special.
Yes,
we're not going to preview that either. We got a lot of cool stuff coming. But Joe and I were talking like, okay, it's Christmas Eve. We want to do some kind of special holiday episode. And so what do? I've had my brother on. I had both of my brothers on, actually, and that was really fun. And
we haven't had Jack on, but nobody wants that. So.
Yeah. Shout out Jack. He'll join at some point. Let us get past episode 100 first. But and then I don't remember whose idea it was. I think it might have been Joe's. It was like, we've thrown around having our wives on before. Neither one of them really wanted to, but here we are. We convinced them. Both of our wives are joining us for this very special holiday episode of the Godly Young Men podcast. I'll briefly introduce my wife, Rachel. Making her podcast debut. I think probably Alyssa is too, as well. And so, yeah, it's going to be really good. Joe, if you want to introduce your wife and then whatever thoughts you have to introduce.
This is my wife, Alyssa, which is really weird calling her Alyssa because you just call each other pet names all the time, I suppose. So calling her Alyssa. But yes, this is my wife, Alyssa. And yeah, I think you both are incredibly nervous. So that's okay in our first episode. What's interesting about Alyssa is we call her the patron saint of the gym podcast. She's the one that came up with the idea specifically. So at the very beginning, or initially, I should say, at the very beginning of it, and said, what if there was something for young men? She's actually got 5 brothers. She's the oldest of 7. So she's got 5 brothers. And she said, what if there was something that could really help them with just advice for specific areas of life? I thought, it's a great idea. So, of course, I ran to my best friend, Will. We're made for this.
So, all 99 episodes, the hours and hours of content you guys have listened to and watched, you can thank Alyssa for.
That's right.
How about that?
That's right.
So, no, we're really excited about this episode. They are very nervous, but that's okay. It's going to be really good. We got a lot of interesting questions. Kind of what we're going to do with this episode is just somewhat interview style. We've got some questions for them that we're going to ask. They've got some questions for us. And it's just interesting because Joe and I, of course, have talked about them multiple times throughout all 99 of these episodes, and so now to have them on is going to be really special. And then we're going to end with some fun holiday stuff. Again, just Merry Christmas Eve to everybody. Hopefully you noticed the Christmas decorations that we went to great lengths to set up and decorate for. Yeah, exactly. So if you don't like the decorations, you can blame us. It's definitely the men's fault. But Joe, anything else you want to say to kick us off? Or
completely spaced out. Merry Christmas, everybody. I know it's it's the day before. We're shooting this ahead of time, so it is the day before Christmas that this will be dropping. And so have a very Merry Christmas to everybody. If we don't say it, we'll say it on the back end. But if we don't, get to that again.
I got to say, too, if you're listening or watching this on Christmas Eve, you're a dedicated listener.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. That's pretty special. All right, let's get right into it. I'm going to ask, I don't know which of y'all, we didn't really decide who wants to go first here, but I'm going to ask the question, and then I guess you've got the mic. We'll let you go first, and then I'll swing it to Rachel and you go after that. This is the Godly Young Men podcast. We've had a lot of episodes about marriage. We've had a lot of episodes about finding a wife. I've got a specific question later on I'm really excited to get y'all's thoughts on. But just kind of generically, the first question we have is, what advice would you give to a young man who is preparing for marriage?
This is kind of a serious one starting out, but I was thinking, make sure there are no secrets. Like if you have a porn addiction or a sexual past or even just a relationship past, keeping those things from your, wife-to-be is a big problem. Like women really need trust in the relationship to feel secure, and that is an immediate just buster of
because the foundation,
trust.
Like if you're starting off on a shaky foundation, I really like that point, then especially if you're not sharing those things early on and it comes out later, like you said, the trust is kind of violated.
If you lock her in to marriage, if you give her no choice and then spring that on her, that you have to start over, in my opinion. So,
and this is a personal one to us. I told her right at the very beginning, I think before we started recording, or right when we started recording, told her, and it was almost a deal buster about my porn addiction. It was almost a deal buster.
Yeah, you didn't wait at all.
I didn't wait at all because, so I love that you put this one down, because I thought the same thing, which is I want to build this on the foundation of trust, where we don't get into marriage and I spring, surprise, I've been addicted to porn for 10 years. Like, no, I'm working on this and working through it, and I don't think it's fair in the least for somebody to get into marriage and then find this out. Yeah. And now it's like, well, I'm not going to divorce you, but the trust is shattered from the very beginning, and building that back takes years to do that. So I love that point.
Yeah, and kind of in the same vein too, never lie to your spouse about anything about this, but also about just small things, do I look good in this dress? It's like the classic question that no man actually wants to answer. But I know
because it's a setup question.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely
well,
is a setup.
It kind of is. But I know that if I ask him, hey, was this meal good? Or do I look good in this? Or is my face too shiny or something? He will tell me, and that means that compliments mean something. It's not just he's just telling me things to make me feel better.
Or not just saying what he thinks he's supposed to say. Yeah, that's a really good one too.
So
it's good.
Yeah.
You're up.
So I took it as a question for somebody who is thinking about getting married. So I used it as know your person that you're going to get married to, like the good, the bad, the ugly, you're stuck with them pretty much is what it is when you're married. Whenever you're throwing up, being pregnant, or just all the issues that you have, you're stuck with that person.
You're not just getting their best side.
Yeah, exactly. You definitely see the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so definitely making sure you pick the right one, because eventually, issues are going to happen. You're going to have arguments and disagreements. And so making sure that that person is the person for you, that's huge.
I love that.
This is tough too, and we can't spend this long on every single question, but this is so fascinating to me in the sense of we've talked before, and I guess all of us have, about you probably shouldn't date and be engaged for a really, really long time before you get married. Sure. And so there's that side, but then there's also the side of what you're talking about, which is you really kind of need to know. Like you really need to make sure that you get to know this person, vet the person, really see them at not just their best all the time. And so that is kind of an argument for maybe shorter relationships are not the best idea. So we don't necessarily have time to get into all that, but that was just...
I think longer courtship, shorter on the... Like once you get engaged and put a ring on it...
Speed it up here, yeah.
You know that this is the person you're getting married to. Well, we got to wait for the perfect venue and everything else. I understand some of that, but man, those go on for like a year, and then the temptation builds. Ahead of time, I like that you both had openness in yours, and then we can move on. You both had openness in yours, because that is so key. Like in a courtship, we started with big questions. I think you guys did as well. And the other piece of advice, be around their family. Like be around their family a lot, because I can always put on a good show and make it look good to you, but what do you look like around your family? What do I look like around my family? Am I treating my siblings well, my parents, whatever it is? You get to see the other parts of people. And one of the things we did early on, and then we'll move on, I told her, I don't want to FaceTime with you in makeup. Like, show me without. And as dumb as that is, it was kind of and I'm sure you guys did something similar, right? Where I don't just want to see you at your best all the time. I want to see, I'm going to be living with you, and you're not going to have makeup for 60 years, every single time. That's okay. And I want to see that. And so getting that part, I think that's a great piece of advice. Yeah.
But you also can't hide who you are to your family. Like when you're with your family, that stuff comes out, or your family can call you out and be like, you are totally putting on a face, or, so.
And hopefully they do call you out. Like
exactly.
that needs to be called out. Yeah.
All right.
Did you have anything else?
No, that was it.
I was going to actually audible Joe. Let's alternate. Why don't they ask us one next?
There you go.
So yeah. So whichever one of you, Alyssa, go for it.
What one thing do you want to be said about you after you're gone?
It's good. And just great question. Just to take you behind the curtain for a second here, they have been sent their questions ahead of time,
which is why they have their phones out and are cheating.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah.
We're not good on the spot.
They need the teleprompter. No, we did not. These are kind of new to us. Correct. This is kind of the first time we're looking at them. I'll go first because mine's pretty brief. I want it to be said after I'm gone that I was a really good husband and father. That's kind of generic and cheesy, kind of cliche, but no, seriously, like I've thought a lot about, my career, my hard work, even my work in the church. I think it really comes down to, I want people to look at my kids and look at my family and say, he really led his family really, really well. Faithful children, faithful spiritual family. Like, I think that ultimately is what I want to be said about
you
me.
Stole the best answer.
Yeah, Joe, your turn. What do you think?
Exactly. That I made really good steaks. No, I mean, I think...
It's true.
You're nice.
It is.
No, but I think that is key, because the one thing that I was thinking is we make multi-generational faithfulness such a big deal. I want that to be said is, he's got faithful kids, faithful grandkids. Like, this is a guy that's set up for generations to come, hopefully set up for generations to come, whether that be through, wealth would be nice, but really it's going to be that spiritual wealth. So I think that's the right answer, in my opinion, is you want to be known as a faithful husband and father that raise faithful kids. So, yeah, that's the best answer I have. So, okay, number 2 for us.
And it's your turn. It's your turn.
And it's your turn. You both have sons. What are 1 or 2 lessons you think they have to, and I put in all caps, have to learn before 18? I put on there 1 or 2, and I know you've, if you want Alyssa to go first, you certainly can, because this means you can put on 1 or 2 if you have a goofier or a less serious and a serious one. However you want to do it. What lessons do you want your sons to learn? You have one son right now, and I believe
one on the way.
Second
yeah,
one on the way.
We haven't really announced it or anything, but
okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Spoiler alert.
No, I just meant on the podcast we haven't. On social media, but everybody knows. Just on the podcast.
And we have 3 sons, so
a lot of boys running around.
Lots to learn, yeah. And obviously that's going to be me and you, particularly. But ladies, what would you want them to know?
So my first one I would say is to have their own personal Bible study. I know I've heard y'all talk about this on the podcast and stuff.
That's a great one.
But not to have your mom.
You listen to our podcast.
I know, right?
Wow.
Just
Do
faithful.
you?
The truth comes out.
I think you guys
You have 4
got
kids.
it. Yeah, I've got it.
Wow.
I
How
trust
nice.
you.
How nice.
I implicitly trust you. Meanwhile, somebody has to check.
Yeah.
You know?
Continue. I have to. Sorry. Personal Bible study.
So, growing up, you see a lot of people that have their parents' faith, and so having your own faith and your own study, I feel like is huge, because once you get married, then that's when everything happens. That's when you're getting a big boy job, and that's when you're working a lot, and so you have to make sure that you find time. So if you start now and start prioritizing it now, I feel like that would help. And then my second one is for the men or the guys to learn how to cook. I think that's huge. I think, it's nice for Will to cook dinner every once in a while.
Once every year. I don't do a lot of that.
He knows how to make grilled
I
cheeses,
feel like this
right?
is passive aggressive. I feel like she's taking a shot at me here.
But yeah, that's what I had.
I would say I took it more like, I don't know. What's the word I'm looking for?
That's all right. You can check the notes.
Yeah, I'm checking my notes. But mine is more like maybe esoteric. Respect for those in authority. For your parents, for, your elders, for people who are above you, teachers in college or whatever. Governing officials, that one's a tough one for
That's a big
us.
one for young men, because young men don't like authority.
Yes, but so you have to respect them, because if you don't, to respect God, he asks you to respect your parents and respect those who are in governing positions. And if you don't respect them, then are you really respecting God? So that was my first one. And the second one is kind of tied to that, is kindness to those who are not in authority. You think of children and strangers and people with disabilities, older people or women or something like that, people who are not in authority. Do they treat those people with kindness? Or you guys have talked about before,
basically
waiters
people that
and
don't,
waitresses.
people that you don't have to.
Yeah, exactly. How do you treat people who can't do anything for you?
Well, if you think about it, they won't be respecting and treating their wife, well like that if they don't start young and they don't do it to authority. That's how God intended it was for them to respect your wife also. So if they can't even do it young, then they're not going to be able to respect their wife when they get older.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that point.
That's good.
I think it's those that can't do anything for you, that is a telltale sign of a man with character, I think, is how does he treat his inferiors, not just the superiors. Everybody can kiss up a little bit, and make it look good. But I like that. That's interesting. I know, man, we can't park on these too long. We'll be here all day. But I am curious as to, since I haven't seen your answers at all, why that stands out in terms of what you want them to learn, specifically on the authority structure. Is there a reason why, you spoke to a little bit of, they got to learn to respect God, but a reason why...
Joe, didn't they ban follow-up questions? I'm pretty sure they've eaten. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Do you have an answer as to why authority specifically? Because I think Will's right. I struggle with authority, so maybe this is coming from me. I struggle with questioning government, questioning typical authorities and such. Why do you think or why are you passionate about that specifically?
I think specifically with parenthood, if they don't respect you as the parents, why would they respect God? And you as a parent are kind of that figure in for them, representing God. And if they don't respect you, then,
Okay, so I got you.
That's really good.
14. Okay. No, I like that.
I think it's your turn to ask us the next one.
Okay, so what part of fatherhood do you find the most challenging?
This is a good question. It's your turn to go
This is
first.
a
I have an
great
answer. I don't know if you want me to
question. I do
go
have an
first.
answer,
Okay,
yeah.
then you go for it.
A lot of things in fatherhood are challenging. The biggest thing for me is time management. Managing, you want to work hard. We've talked about this before. You want to work hard. Making time for each kid. I got 4 kids. Making time for every single one of them and actually spending time with them and being present. that is the most challenging time because they all want your attention, and they don't want 50% of your attention. They want 100% of your attention. And you get done with a very long day. You work these 12-hour days. I'll work a 12-hour day. You'll come home, whatever it is. And you're just drained, and yet got to turn on. You got 4 kids, right? And so that would be, and I love them to death, so of course I want to do that. But that is the challenge, is managing those times. And especially as they get older, you're balancing, do we get them into sports? Do we get them into, different passions? We let them pursue passions at what point? And, it's a balancing act, I would say, in fatherhood.
Yeah. My answer is very similar. It's more so balancing the guilt that I feel that I'm having to work so much. Yeah. There'll be, we talked about before, there's days that go by that I don't see them because I'm up at work before they wake up, and maybe I got, and maybe not even all with my one job at Chick-fil-A, but got recording to do at night or editing or whatever it is. And it's just like, I'll get to the end of the day and I'll be like, either A, didn't see them, or B, did not get to play with, Jackson's 3, and even Brooklyn now is, a year and a half and is, running to me when I get in the door. And that's really special. But yeah, kind of the guilt that you feel of like, I have to work to provide for them, to make sure that, they have a great life and a great start to life, but also, dealing with the fact that, they didn't see me today or whatever it is. And so it's similar to your answer, but just kind of having to balance both of those things. And I think this is where being intentional comes in of when you got 3 or 4 hours off on a night or whatever it is, turn the TV off. Don't do whatever, there's always, especially in your line of work, there's always more work to be done. And so kind of knowing when to shut it off. There's times when you just can't. You got a client, I've got a schedule, things like that. You just can't shut it off. But the times that you can, spending a couple hours with them playing or whatever it is, and just, obviously I'm prayerful that both of us can get to the point where this won't be as much of a challenge for us. But right now, I'd definitely say that makes sense. That's the biggest one. So
yeah, I definitely don't envy the husbands/dads that have to think about that, because we're blessed to be at home with our kids all the time, so we get plenty of time with them. So to even think about, I can't imagine the weight that is on your minds when it comes to that.
It is, because, and we got to move on, I know, but like it's the one of the most crucial parts of their lives is when they're this young. Especially, I'm just thinking about Jackson at 3. Your kids are even older than that. Some of your older 2 are, and so yeah, it's a heavy weight. But I do also, we talked before about, especially our boys are going to need us a whole lot more here in a few years. And so that's something I think about a lot as well.
Well, and to be fair, so 2 things. First off, I've said the same thing. We got to move on. We're hanging out. We're having a good time. If it goes a little long, it's a holiday hangout. So if you want to turn it off, nobody's forcing you to be here. So if you stay with us, thanks. If not, we'd like to go to dinner. But other than that, no, I mean, we'll I suppose, because it's like, man, do we have to hurry?
Yeah, we're going to stop saying that.
We're going to have a good time. We're going to have a good time with this. The second thing is, you guys don't ever get a break. And that's something that I think about from the opposite side, which is, obviously you love your kids, but man, it's on all the time. Last night my wife was up 5 times with our youngest, which he usually sleeps through the night. I don't know what happened last night. He was having a rough night. And it must be growing or something. And so 4 to 5 times she gets up with him, and I slept right through it. She's so nice. I mean, she could have woken me up. But,
wow, Joe, shame on you.
Yeah. Well, I had to work. It's a Saturday, but I had to work. No, I mean, but you guys don't ever get a break. And that, to me, is really impressive, that you continue to show up for your kids and show up for us, because I know it would be really difficult to chase kids around at the end of the day and go, here, and you guys continue to, you guys are great on the back end once we get home from work and such. So I really appreciate that.
I'd echo that. And that's the thing. It's a tough job on both sides. It's
right.
Really, and we have, I think Joe and I don't speak for him, but we have a hard time putting ourselves in y'all's shoes. And I think probably similarly on the other side. Yeah. But husband, wife, that's the beauty of the roles, and so that makes it special. All right, so number 3 for y'all, and I think it is Alyssa's turn to go first on this one, right? What is your favorite part of being married?
Mine is pretty short and sweet. Like, I just love having somebody I can rely on and live life with. Like, you look at those, I see these all the time on Instagram, like the reels where the wife goes into the store by herself with the kids, and she's like locked in, and she's like looking at her, and then like when she goes into the store with her husband, she's like, that's me.
Don't have a care in the world.
Like that, just, you kind of feel like maybe peace is a strong word, but kind of like a, relaxation. Like, sure. I can rely on him and just live life with my best friend.
Oh, how sweet.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that. Since y'all had similar answers on the other ones, I'm going to be similar on that one. So, yeah, I definitely agree with that. Having your best friend, if a day goes bad, you have somebody that you're going to get in bed with at night and cuddle, and he's going to give you that comfort that you need. Or if if there's something that's really awesome, the kid does something super sweet, and you can just call them and you get to celebrate together. I love that, and love sharing every aspect of life together.
Yeah.
That's good.
Good answers.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. Y'all passed that test. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. No, I do think. I mean, we're not really supposed to answer these, but there is an element of you literally. That's something we've talked about a lot. Like the first person I want to tell about anything in my life, thing that went bad, thing that went really good. Oh, this funny story. She's the first one I think of. And I think it's the same, obviously, the other side. And so that's a kind of an underrated part of being married, I think. Like, you live together, you're going to get to do, make memories together and things like that. But just the little 2-minute moments of, I can't wait to tell my wife this story. It's things you don't think about.
One of the reasons we talk so much on the podcast about communication and setting up well for marriage, choosing a godly spouse, you want them to be your best friend. You genuinely want to enjoy the moments together. Doesn't mean you're never going to fight. You're never going to have some disagreements, but by and large, marriage should be a blast. It should be living life with your best friend. Don't trust the advice of the older people the old ball and chain, 30 years and they hate each other. It doesn't have to be that way. We're 8 years in. You guys are 6 years in?
Five and a half.
5.5 years in. So we're coming up on 6, I think, in 2-3 months. So, I mean, you guys have been together a while, and man, there's not a day goes by that we're not incredibly blessed, that we don't think about the amazingness of our wives, our marriage, and such. And so that, again, it doesn't mean there's not ups and downs, but yeah, the best friend part is incredibly underrated. Make sure you choose well. You don't jump into it just because of, for whatever reason, like do your vetting, and you'll be incredibly blessed for it. So, all right, our turn.
I think it's Alyssa's turn to ask. Yeah.
Read. All right. What is one piece of advice you'd give your younger self?
Man, this is the problem with not seeing the questions beforehand. I don't know. It's my turn to go first, but
do you want me to?
Go for it, because I don't have an answer off top.
I would say get more connected with godly people, because we were around a lot of godly people, but I wasn't open hardly about anything. Not just, I go back to porn so much. My porn past. It wasn't just that, though. I don't think, like, the general struggles of being a homeschool kid where the mom is kind of doing this. I love my mom to death, but man, there's some tough times. Having somebody to walk through it with. I slept in the same room with my brother. Like, he was in the bed literally 4 feet from me for a decade plus, and we didn't have anywhere close to the relationship as we have now. Part of that's maturity. I would go back and say, utilize that relationship. Utilize the relationship with you. Utilize the relationship with other guys in my life that genuinely were good, that I was too busy playing sports with to actually sit down and say, hey, I need your advice on this. It doesn't have to be me breaking down in tears. It would just be, I need your advice. I'm going through this, whatever it is. I would go back and tell my younger self, it's okay to rely on others and not just rely on yourself. Like, get connected.
Vulnerability is such like kind of a squishy type word. Like, it kind of gets abused a lot of the times, but I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of sharing stuff like that. I think for me, honestly, it would be kind of a generic answer, but like, set really good habits and routines earlier. I felt like I got really good at that at 22. And it's one of those things that I wish I could have done that, whether it be exercise or Bible study or just screen time at night. All the things we've talked about on this podcast before. I wish I had, and that's why we started the podcast, is to kind of pass on that advice. I wish I had started that earlier. I've talked before too about like applying myself in school. I feel like I did. I just felt like I probably did 70 to 80% of what I could have done. And so a lot of that just, I think, comes from the creating good habits and really sticking to them. Again, from a maturity perspective, that's hard for a 16-year-old. That's hard for a 17-year-old. But man, I just feel like the progress that I personally feel like I've made from 22 to now could be just exponentially more if I'd started at 17.
I think about all the resources we had. My dad had like a gym room downstairs with free weights and everything else. And it's like the habit of hitting the gym. I didn't have to go anywhere. I literally
walk out of your room and
I walk out of my room into the next room, and it's right there. And I didn't avail myself at all to it because I was playing hockey and I was in good shape, Habits would have mattered, and I had everything. I had time, and I had availability, and I had everything else to do habits, and I squandered what I had. And then you find it later, like you said, if I had the mind of what I had maybe 25, 26, 27 and on, up to me being 30 now, man, I'd be a lot further ahead. So I like that piece of advice.
All right. I think it is, Joe, your turn to read and Rachel's turn to answer first.
What do you think most girls are looking for in a young man?
Okay, so on my notes, I literally put a man. Someone who's hardworking, someone who doesn't call out of work, somebody that has a good work ethic. I think, and somebody that that will provide for you. I feel like that's going to be huge.
You should on the after edit notes, you should drop episode numbers as she went through that. It's like, we cover that and cover that and cover that. No, you're absolutely right. Those are great answers because it is very lacking in this day and age, which is why we started this. But yeah, those are great answers.
I have an interesting thought on this. this is kind of a pop culture thing that you're probably the most social media savvy person here. Maybe you can speak to this a little bit more. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I think it's so interesting. 10 years ago or so, maybe a little bit less, 17 years ago, every kind of guy in pop culture that the girls were kind of fawning all over had some kind of feminine traits. I think of like Harry Styles, Justin Bieber. Those are kind of just the first two that come to mind. Maybe that's just because they're music people, but like that's who everybody was into. Now, it's like there has been a bit of a shit. Like Glenn Powell is really kind of what every girl's looking at now. He's a kind of masculine. Yeah, go ahead.
Jason Momoa, is he like?
Is
he masculine or is he like? I don't know.
He looks pretty masculine to me.
Don't have those muscles, NBA wimpy guy.
Yeah, exactly. But like people like him, I think of even like people in the music industry now that are just kind of y'all aren't country fans, but like country music people are more men's men now, whereas previously they were wearing skinny jeans and just kind of the feminine stuff. So I don't know. That's just kind of an interesting thing. I feel like the culture, for Rachel's answer, the culture is shifting back more towards masculine men. Obviously, that's kind of what we talk about in our podcast. But to your point, I do think the protection is key. The security is key. I know that he's going to provide for me, and I'm not going to have to worry about having a roof over my head is a good answer.
Yeah, that was basically my answers. I wrote down security and stability, like financially, emotionally, even physically. I feel like that is one of the most important things for women to be looking for in a man.
That's good.
Yeah, because we talk about this a lot. Safety and security are kind of the
number one
things for a woman. A man needs respect, a woman needs love, and security and safety is a big part of it. So to the wimpy guy who can't beat up like a fry, he's a small fry. Can't beat up a fly. He's a small fry. Just start rapping.
That makes a lot more sense.
In the music industry, but where he can't beat up anybody. That doesn't make a woman feel safe. The guy who's an absolute shrimp, some guy
comes breaking in the middle of the night. He's like, "Are you going to go take care of it?"
Yeah, exactly. And this is not calling out short-statured guys. There's a lot of short-statured guys that are just absolute beasts. Probably beat me up. So we're just saying guys that can provide physical safety, but then also the financial safety. That's why we talk about the must-haves before marriage and things like that. You don't have to have a stacked 401k and $1 bazillion in the bank account. You have to have the work ethic to let them be secure in. I know he's going to provide for me. That's what they're looking for, and I think is what you're saying. So, yeah, good stuff.
That's good. Whose turn is it to ask?
I think it's mine. Do you have mine?
We're on number 4.
Okay, thank you. What character quality do you most want to work on in the next 10 years?
Man, Joe, I made you go first last time, so I'll go first here.
I didn't even.
What makes this question tough and interesting is 10 years. Like that's not just like, hey, the next year, what do you want to work on? That 10 years, that's more than 40% of my life already. So I think I have two that come to mind immediately. The first one is more of a personal thing, and the second thing is more of a generic thing. So personally, I really want to improve and work on my prayer and Bible study life. One of those things you're always going to hopefully be working on, always trying to improve, but I feel like specifically with my prayer life, it has been very sporadic, not super consistent, and just of the one kind of spiritual area in my life I really feel like can be improved and kind of ramped up. And so I would say prayer and study life personally, just I really want to have that dialed in and locked in, especially over 10 years. Hopefully that would work. And then the other thing I would say, because I think this is going to serve me well in my career, hopefully, but then also with my kids, is just general leadership qualities. I've learned a lot about leadership the last year and a half, 2 years, and just kind of the traits of leaders, kind of the way that they go about things, the questions that they ask, the way they interact with people, the time they take for people. I have a very kind of productivity-minded brain where I just always want to be productive. And one thing I've learned that leaders kind of focus on is less about, they focus on productivity, obviously, but it's also about people and taking time for people and not just your brain always going to do, okay, this isn't productive talking to this person for 2 minutes. Yeah, it might be. And so just, again, general leadership traits, I think it'll help me in my career, but then also as my kids get to older ages where they're going to need more hands-on direct leadership, that's kind of what I really want to have mastered, so to speak, how to be a good leader.
Yeah, that's good. Mine is closer to the first. Consistency was the first word that went through my mind because my wife knows I can be incredibly inconsistent. I'll get hot fired about things, and
you're great with ideas. Yeah,
I told you about my Enneagram 5. Or 7,
oh yes,
sorry,
you did. Yeah,
7.
About how it nailed you, basically.
That's how much I care about the Enneagram. I have the wrong one. I really don't like the Enneagram, but my goodness,
it was accurate.
It's insanely accurate. That's what it said. Is yeah, you're really good at coming up with plans on the fly, and that's great. But can you stick with them?
And you're like, oh.
That hurt. So consistency is the big one for me that I'm hoping over the next decade Consistency on budget, consistency on eating healthy, consistency on gym. I'm getting better on that. I am consistently hitting the gym. The problem is my diet's not consistent, and I'm realizing at 30 I can't eat whatever I want and just think I'm going to burn it off. That's hitting me slowly somehow, and so I wish it was hitting me a lot faster. But if I can consistently do those things, that for sure is going to be the biggest thing. I put one down that we're going to get into probably maybe sometime in January, an episode, which is embracing monotony. I think that will actually be close to the first of the year episode, because part of anytime you're setting New Year's resolutions, anything like that, you have to embrace monotony. It's not always going to be like just a ton of fun. You're not at summer. You don't get to do all these crazy good things. Embrace monotony.
The day-to-day.
Embrace the rhythm of life, the day-to-day, the drudgery, as some people might call it. That's consistency. It's showing up even when you're not at a level 10, like, oh, I'm pumped. Can you still do it then?
That's how great athletes get to be really great athletes. It's not all game day. It's not all Sunday football.
And mostly
it's
not
6
game
days
day.
a week of practice and training that is kind of monotonous. So,
Yeah.
that's really good. I think I'm going to ask, I don't remember whose turn it is, but I put this question on, so I'm going to go ahead and ask you. I'm really, really interested to hear y'all's thoughts on this. And this will be the last one that we ask. What traits for your sons, so for Jackson, for our next son that's coming, and then for Harrison, Lachlan, and Duncan, what traits do you hope that they are looking for in a young woman when they're looking to get married? And I think this question is interesting because I think all parents kind of have a general idea, but at the end of the day, it is going to be up to our sons to choose who they marry. Yeah. And so what do you hope you have instilled in them to where you're not going to have to tell you, look for this type of person. No, they're going to already know what to look for, if that makes sense. So what kind of traits would you have for that?
My thing that first came to mind is a soft and malleable heart that responds well to constructive criticism, because you're going to run into that. And that's part of being a mature person, is being able to take those things and learn from them. I just think that you won't have it all right. And as a young woman, I know this from experience. Young women who are 15 to 18 or whatever are very selfish, but we don't realize it. We're just trying to figure out where we are in the world, and we're kind of focused on what we're doing. And that's when I was, as a 17, 18-year-old in a relationship with him, and I didn't realize that I was being kind of selfish or whatever, and kind of thinking about what I was doing. And I had someone come to me and bring up hey,
who would that have been?
Hey, you need to, I don't even remember exactly
not be so
said.
selfish.
Basically, but
I'm sorry, who are we talking about?
I did not handle that very well. And I look at some of the people that I respect, and I see how they're able to water off water of a duck's back, where they're able to just kind of take it and take what's important, take what they feel to be a good piece of advice, and then leave the stuff that's not
just
relatable.
Get instantly defensive, you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that is a huge sign of maturity. And that is something that I wish that I had more, and that I, again, really hope that my sons can find a girl that, because you won't be perfect in the beginning, just have a lot, I want him to know, have a lot of grace for this young woman, or, if you're older, for at any time, but specifically with young women, you change a lot. Mm-hmm. I've changed a lot, even in the last, couple of years. Your brain is, changing and stuff like that. So as a husband, as a leader of your home, have grace for your wife, but that also means she needs to be able to listen.
And I love the heart point, because if they have the heart, the rest can kind of be worked out. I've made the point before, not to embarrass you on the spot. Modesty was not exactly at the top of Rachel's priority list when we got together, but it's not like I was like, well, okay, cross her off the list. She's not modest. Yeah, or homeschooling was also not really for her. But I saw the heart, and I saw the moldability, the malleableness, if that's a word, of her heart, and it's like, okay, the rest can kind of be worked out. So yeah, I really like that answer.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
No way.
Yeah, I literally said someone who's not selfish and someone who has a moldable heart. So to add on,
wow,
yeah,
you guys didn't coordinate.
Yeah, I know. We actually text each other. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's huge. I think you just said that was one of your non-negotiables of having that, and so I feel like I definitely want, especially Will, to instill in that in Jackson and can I say his name?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, sorry. And Austin.
This is a first. We did not know that.
What?
Sorry, I'm used to saying that because Jackson's like, oh, baby Austin.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, I definitely want him to instill that. I know that's kind of my job too, but I definitely want you to instill that in him of, okay, does that person have a moldable heart? The other thing I had was, you know me and this whole cooking thing. I want her to be able to cook.
Amen.
If they're
Absolutely.
if they're anything like Will, then they're gonna want to eat, and they like to eat, and
I was
so
like, where is this going?
yeah. And so I definitely want, you know, at least the woman to want to learn to cook or at least know how to cook. I don't want a woman that says, oh no, you just pick up takeout on the way home. You know, like I want, even though that's nice every once in a while. But yeah, definitely somebody that wants to learn to cook at least.
It shows that they want to take care of them.
Yeah.
And like we want to take care of, like I know for
Yes.
you and me, I think I can say that we love, like our love language is food,
Yes.
and taking care of our husbands in that way is really important to us. And so I would love for that for my son to know that he's being taken care of in that way.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question real fast on the moldable heart thing? It's going to be a follow-up, so put you on the spot a little bit here. I am curious y'all's thoughts. I have my own answer here, but like, how do you know? How can you tell? Maybe not know. How can you tell
Good question.
if somebody has a moldable heart? Again, put you on the spot a little bit here, but I think this is, you know, it's one thing we can say like, oh, we'll find a girl with a moldable heart, and these guys are like, great. What does that mean? Like, how do I find that? And so I'm just curious if off the top of y'all's heads, is there anything that comes to mind of like ways that you can tell if somebody does, or maybe ways you can tell somebody clearly does not have a moldable heart?
Convince her if the moon landing or that the moon landing's fake, and if she's willing to say yes, you know you got to go. No, just kidding.
Yeah, I was going to say if she's sweet. If she's not sweet, she's not going to have a heart. She's not even going to think about it, I feel like. So as long as she's sweet. But also, well, I had something else. Now I can't think of it. So if you have something, take it away.
I was gonna say it kind of goes back to our point earlier, like just the small things. If she asks you how she looks in a dress, you know, like I don't know. I feel like that shows, and you say, "Hey, it's not as
Maybe try a different one.
yeah, you know, I like it." No. Just tell her. Yeah, I don't feel like that is the most flattering color on you. If she like melts down and it's like the end of the world, it's like, ooh, this could be a problem.
But to be
How dare
fair,
you.
early on that may be really difficult. That
Yeah.
doesn't,
Oh, yeah.
you know, anybody that gets criticized. I can't even speak. You guys are going to criticize me. Anybody that gets criticized right off the bat is going to, especially from their significant other, might melt down initially. So, though I agree with that, I think that's a good
If
point.
it hits insecurities, where I guess that is
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
the dressing can come in, you know,
Yeah.
if it hits insecurities in particular.
I actually really like your answer about being sweet. Like you can very much tell. First of all, if somebody's like fake sweet, like they're just kind of putting on. If somebody genuinely is kind, I think kindness is a big key.
Yep.
If they're kind to people, if they are sweet, if they're again, I just like that. I think that is a pretty good indicator of if you maybe look to constructively criticize or just maybe have a difference of opinion, they're not going to just knuckle down and go, just disagree entirely. And so, yeah, I like that. I was just curious because I don't know if you have a thought.
The only thing I was going to say is, does she like to talk about ideas? One of the things that drew me to you the most is I didn't always lead with my idea of what I thought on a subject matter. I waited to see what you had to say, and we would converse back and forth.
That way she wasn't just like, oh, whatever you think.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, I agree with that too. Like, I bet you do. But she would come out with something and say it, and we agreed on most everything. But the things that I didn't, I'd say, well, what do you think about this? And then we could go back and forth, and you didn't fold like a cheap tent. You were willing to say,
well, here's why.
I believe this, and we could go back and forth on that. But I noticed that you were willing to recognize if you were wrong in something, and I try to do the same. If you had a point that maybe I wasn't as good in or whatever it is, I want to have a moldable heart in that way. But I did notice that about you early on, is you were willing to see my side of things. Even if you didn't agree, you were willing to have that open dialogue and discussion, which I think is huge in a moldable heart, where there is not, to your point, the defensiveness as well. So I think both of you, those are good
Can
answers.
I add one, somewhat related, somewhat not? A girl who talks about herself all the time.
Yeah.
Or post about herself all the time.
Yeah, that's a pet peeve of Rachel's.
Yeah.
I should let her go on the rant here, but
Well,
yeah.
I used to post about myself and about life and stuff, and so now that I'm married, so I guess like you said, a moldable heart.
yeah.
As long as they have a moldable heart, to not do that.
But like in conversation, you didn't. That's the
yeah.
thing. I think it's easier to do on social media, but like you can tell if you're having a conversation with somebody, and it's just, guys can do this too, of course, but like all about them, their stories, they did this happened to them,
And how
It's
everything
like,
relates to
how
them.
everything relates to them. It's like, okay, that's kind of a character trait at this point. And so, yeah, people can work out of that. I mean, like you said, I think people can grow out of that. But it's tough once you get to that age.
The reason why that matters, the multiple heart is, and this goes back to a point you made, like, and to the kindness point of Rachel, the multiple heart, to me, speaks so much more. You were talking about the cooking side of it, but like they are thinking about the other person.
Yes.
So
they're
when
not
talking
so
about somebody else-
self-focused.
Correct. When they're not so self-focused, because you might say, how are those two things related? That is how. Are they thinking about other people and how you might perceive something, or how, instead of just how everything runs through me, that does mean they are going to be thinking about things in a different perspective, and not just everything through their own. Because once it's through their own and they have their mind made up, multiple hearts out the window.
Yeah. All right, y'all have one more for us. I don't know whose turn it is.
I think it's right.
Okay.
Okay. What would you say is your love language, and which one would you say is your least?
This is a...
Can you give the 5? I don't know if I've put you on the spot.
Yeah,
What are
yeah,
the
yeah.
5 love languages?
So 5 love languages, I really can't speak. I literally can't.
Are you the one nervous, Joe?
I must be nervous. I didn't know that, but I must be nervous. Gift giving, acts of service, physical affection,
Words of
affirmation, and
quality
time.
Yep.
Quality time. Mine has shifted over the years. I do think that happens depending on what the person's need is. I think they shift. Mine used to be gift giving, and I think still my wife's very good at giving me gifts, and I try to give her gifts because I just like gift giving. So that's probably the old faithful. Quality time has been more and more, especially the more you work, the more like quality time really, really matters to me. The least one for me, actually probably physical affection. We go back and forth. That was number 1 on hers and number 5 on mine when we got
That's
married.
interesting.
Well, and I'm surprised to hear you say that because I'm almost sure that at one point you were like, it's definitely acts of service, or was that just because the house was a mess?
It changes over time.
Oh boy. Moving on. No.
So when we got married, it was gift giving, and then when
Was
we
your
got
number
married,
one, you're
was my
saying?
number 1.
Okay.
And acts of service probably was like number 5. I really didn't care. I think actually physical affection was number 5, maybe acts of service number 4. Early on, my wife, as she talked about, struggled some in the keeping, but she was 18, right? So there's learning curves. I just wanted the house clean, and I just wanted my laundry done. Like I really needed clean undies, and so at some point I was like, please just do that. If you love me, you'll do the laundry. And so it started to become that, as crazy as that sounds, it started to become like love to me would be you doing these things for me. And my wife is fantastic at that now. So that has gotten to the point I don't really need that as much. I think it's gone back to normal. But the thing that I need the most right now is quality time, because with working, we don't spend a ton of quality time. Like we try to make the most of it. So right now that's the key for me. But physical affection has never been super big for me because my family wasn't super huggy. Like we just weren't super affectionate growing up. And then the words of affirmation can be nice, but most of the time it's, and my wife is very good at this. She's so kind, but most of the time like, okay, but words are cheap, right? What can you, does it, yeah.
This is so interesting.
That sounds mean.
We're polar opposites. I
Really?
mean, I think my top 2 are words of affirmation
No way.
and or physical affection. I think. I mean, I haven't. To be fair, I have not taken the test. I haven't even read the book. But you know what? Maybe I did take the test a long time ago. Yeah, you know what? I did, because those were my top 2. I don't remember what order they were.
I'm sorry, words of affirmation, what?
And physical affection.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
Ironically enough, those were my top 2. My least, I don't remember from the test. Off the top of my head, I would say gift giving. I could kind of care less about. Like I like gifts, but
I wouldn't say couldn't care less. You definitely could care
Well, I do like gifts and whatnot. But no, I think if I had to rank them, it would be words of affirmation, physical affection, acts of service, quality time, and then the gift giving. I would say that's a really good question.
That's a great question.
That was a good one.
Do you guys know yours?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's really interesting that you pulled up you brought up the idea of your family wasn't physically affectionate, because mine wasn't either. And so that's really interesting. I've never really thought of that when it comes to us.
Where
would you rank
physical affection for you?
Probably like 3. Okay. I don't know, in the middle. I feel like quality time is mine.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, anytime that we have any kind of break or anything, I would love I could just sit together and not even talk, and it'd just be fine. Like just having that time together.
Yeah, and mine was physical affection, but I do think that it's kind of changed to where quality time is the most important to me, and then physical affection.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's been a growth for me, actually having to think about physical affection and the kisses and the hugs and things like that. Like, yes, those are great, but it's not something that when you walk out the door you think of. So from a love languages perspective, I don't think we've ever really talked too much on it. Make sure that you are actively working on the one that matters to the other person, because obviously my wife has. For me, I try to work on that one for her. Even though it's not top of my list, not even anywhere close to top of my list, It matters to her. It is top on her list or very close. So make sure you're working on those things, which can be difficult to do sometimes.
All right, let's do some fun holiday stuff. Well, as Joe said, we're not really looking at the timer. We do have a dinner to get to, so we will not spend too much time here. But Merry Christmas Eve. We've got 4 Christmas-type special fun holiday questions that Joe and I have said because they were not prepped on these. We're going to answer first, and then y'all have to take it away after that. Joe, give me your top 3 Christmas movies of all time.
You know, I put this one down, and I'm such an idiot because I only
You don't even have
I came up with 2. So Santa Claus is definitely on there. That's probably 2. And number 1 I can tell you is Jingle All the Way, and I know you hate that. My wife hates that.
I've
one.
never seen it. So.
Oh, okay. Have you not? Okay,
No.
I thought you were the.
That's funny that Alyssa hates it, though.
My wife is not a big fan of it. It's hilarious.
Do you think it's nostalgia talking to him?
It's corny. I can't handle it.
It's the best corny. It's the best type of corny. Yeah, she just has no sense of humor. So, Jingle All the Way, number 1. Santa Claus, number 2. Muppets Christmas Carol. She's got me into that one. That one's really grown on me. So I love that one too. There's so many classics. It's a Wonderful Life is great, makes you cry, but nobody's got like 6 hours to sit down.
I haven't watched it in like 4 years, probably.
Oh my goodness, it is so long. So that one's a classic, but yeah, off the top of my head, since I wrote this one down an hour ago, yeah, the top 2 are set. Number 3 is debatable.
This is one that I have really strong takes and strong opinions. I don't have a strong Christmas movie take. I really don't. I like a lot of them. I like Home Alone. A lot of people say it's not a Christmas movie. If you don't think it's a Christmas movie, you're out of your mind.
It's a Christmas movie.
That's obviously a Christmas movie. I really like Home Alone. Miracle on 34th Street, I think, makes my top 3.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
It's the newer one. And when I say new, it came out like the late 90s, but there was one that came out like the 70s. Miracle on 34th Street is a really good, just like solid Christmas movie. Really, really like that one. And after that, I mean, I've just now sat down and watched the Santa Claus movie, the first one. I never really watched that all the way through. Obviously,
Whoa! You've never seen that one?
I know. I've
Tim
never
Allen.
seen that. Yeah, never
The
seen
Santa
it.
Claus.
Nope.
I'm pretty sure you fell asleep in it.
I did. I really did.
We can't be friends.
I know. I'm sorry. The Grinch, the Grinch is okay. I know y'all are Elf haters. Elf's fine. I think Elf is somewhere. I'll definitely make Rachel's list. Yeah. So I don't really have a firm number 3, but yeah, go ahead. I guess you've definitely got your list.
Yeah, number 1 is definitely Elf. I will sit there. I can sit there by myself and just laugh.
I kid you not. She's probably watched that 10 times, maybe more. She laughs at those jokes harder than anything. I'm like, Rachel, you've seen this. You know that joke is coming, and she laughs.
I'll even repeat some of this stuff randomly to Jackson, and he's like, "What are you talking about?" Like, "Bye, buddy. Hope you find your dad." You know that whenever he goes to find dad outside, yeah. So I love that movie. We recently watched the new Grinch, the Dr. Seuss Grinch. I don't know if y'all seen it.
Dr. Seuss. You're talking about the
Benedict Cumberbatch one?
Yes. Yeah, the
Oh, sure.
one.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I love the Grinch also. Love's a strong word. I really like it. But
the
that
Jim
one,
Carrey or
the Jim Carrey one. And so this one, I was like, oh, this one I feel like is more better. That's not a word.
More better.
Sorry. It's better than for Jackson to watch. So we watched it one morning before we put our Christmas tree up, and I liked it. It was like, this is better than. But yeah, so I haven't watched a ton of Christmas movies. So I know a Christmas Story, the leg, the light leg, whatever. That used to be my grandpa's favorite.
Yeah,
so
that's weird.
That's kind of like nostalgia. But other than that, I haven't.
You talk about nostalgia. Everybody that goes nuts for that one. Come on. I mean,
well, it came out in the 80s, so
everybody in the 80s.
It's the syndrome of it came out in the 80s. It has to be great. Yeah,
It's
exactly.
kind of like
Top Gun.
the hymn songs.
Oh, don't
get
start that now.
No. Don't get started on that one. But no, legitimately, 80s people are kind of nuts. Top Gun's the greatest movie ever. Go watch Top Gun.
Gun's awful.
Top Gun Maverick's fantastic. Top Gun was terrible. So all the 80s lovers that just think that every 80s movie is great. So that one in the 80s, I don't know why people thought that was. Is that an 80s? It's set in the 60s, right? Christmas Story?
I feel like it came out in the 80s.
I know the Chevy Chase one came out in the 80s, the National Lampoon Christmas Vacation, which has some funny parts, but you have to watch that. I've seen it cleaned up, have not watched it because it has some serious content
Which
issues,
movie?
if not. The Chevy Chase Christmas Vacation.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
83. Came out in 83.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So go figure. All right, listen.
This is lame. I love the Muppets Christmas Carol.
I've never seen
I
it.
could watch it.
That's your
all the
number
time.
1?
Yes. Oh, it's absolutely my number 1. Number 2 would be Charlie Brown Christmas. It's just
That's a good
so
one.
nostalgic, and I love watching it with. You have not seen
I like
it.
I Want a Dog for Christmas, Charlie Brown better, actually.
Really?
I like that one a lot.
We've been watching them with the kids because my son is scared of everything. So we watch movies that are slow and happy, and Charlie Brown fits the bill. So we watched every Charlie Brown Christmas film at least 3 times already. So that one's a really good one. And then this is a crazy out of left field one, but we watched Arthur Christmas a couple of years ago, and I really loved it.
What?
That's like out of the ballpark. That's not even out in left field.
I was gonna say, yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Hey, it is adorable and it's hilarious and it's like fresh.
Well, Rachel might like
We
it.
need to watch it. Yeah.
I do like Rise of the Guardians. That's one I forgot. Rise of the Guardians is a good one, but that's kind of like an all year round, I suppose. Arthur Christmas, are you serious? Wow,
That's funny.
Okay,
All
bad
right,
take.
next one.
Next one. Best and worst Christmas song.
Yeah, I think it's my turn to go first. Worst Christmas song by far. Do you know what it is?
All I Want for Christmas Is You.
No, actually, well, as a song, no. The
Oh.
Mariah Carey version is annoying, but no, Santa Baby is by
Oh,
far the worst
Eartha
Christmas
Kitt.
song.
That's
That's
horrible.
just terrible. I can't stand it whatsoever.
I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas.
Oh, that one's bad too.
I can't get.
I
through
saw
that.
Mommy kissing Santa Claus. Like, come
There's a
on,
lot of bad. The worst one. We should just go off on like the top 5 worst ones, or top 30, like 30 worst ones. I probably.
What was
get,
the?
but-
What's the other one? The I wanted off.
Do not say Wham right now.
No, I can't remember what
It's a good
the.
one.
But anyway, so that's by far the worst, I think. The best. Oh man, that's really tough. I like a lot of. I like "Believe" by Josh Groban. That's always kind of. It's at the end of the Polar Express. Just a really solid Christmas song.
It's a good Christmas movie, too.
Yeah, that's a good one too. I forgot about that one. Jackson loves that movie, but yeah, I don't have a firm best Christmas song take either.
That is a tough one because there's a
There's a
bazillion
lot of
one
good
out
ones.
there. I'm a big fan of the Christmas with the Rat Pack. So Mistletoe and Holly from, I don't know, that one always stands out as Mr. Physical Affection guy over here with Mistletoe and Holly. But no, that one from what's his name? Why am I old blue eyes? Frank Sinatra. Thank you.
Is this on your best list?
It's on my best list. Yeah.
What was your
love
worst?
The Rat Pack. Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas. I can't get through. About
Grandma
10
got
seconds
run over
of
by
that.
a reindeer. That's the other one.
That's a
like,
horrible
yeah.
one. Felice Naughty
That one
Dog
is
drives me
mine.
nuts too.
Yeah, or Dominic the Donkey.
Oh,
I've
Yeah,
never
that
heard
one
that
might be my least favorite.
that might be the worst.
Yeah.
What's your favorite?
The Christmas song by Nat King Cole. That just like is so classic.
Chestnuts. That one. Yeah.
So classic.
Jackson always says that Mistletoe by Justin Bieber is your favorite. So
That is a great one.
Please no.
That is a great one. I
Please
will
no.
say. I will not tolerate.
I'm
any-
kicking him off
any
the Godly
Bieber
Young
slander.
Men podcast.
We're gonna listen to that in the car. Actually. On the
Oh
way down.
no.
I like anything Pentatonics. I didn't hear about them until we got married, and now like I love them. Like Mary, did you know? I don't know why I love that song.
Spaced. I'm sorry. Number 1 is clear for me, and I completely forgot it. Boots.
Boots.
By the
I was gonna say,
Killers.
you always bring that
Boots
one
by
up,
the
yeah.
Killers. Oh man, fantastic song.
What's your
Fantastic.
least favorite?
Great music video too.
All the ones that y'all said was ones that I like grew up with. Like Dad would play in the kitchen, you know. So I like all those, and like that.
So what's one you don't like? Any come to mind?
I don't think so. I mean,
No Christmas
well,
song,
I'm
did you?
sure. I don't really love the old ones. I like the Justin Bieber Mistletoe and Pentatonics.
You know which one's not great that I don't love is White Christmas by Bing Crosby. Classic, I know. White Christmas is just kind of slow.
It's okay.
But
It's all right.
all right. Next up, Joe. I think Joe, it's your turn to
Yeah.
ask.
Favorite Christmas tradition.
It's also your turn to go first, though.
Oh yeah.
You guys-
Favorite Christmas tradition. I would say waking up on, especially now that I have kids, but waking up on Christmas morning. The way my family does it is Santa doesn't wrap his presents. So my family, we do family presents that are wrapped. We usually do this on Christmas Eve. We're changing, I suppose, because she doesn't want to. So
My tradition coming up
correct,
next.
yeah, the wrapped ones will be on Christmas, but the unwrapped by Santa and just seeing the look on their face, like I loved coming out to it. That was one of the best things. For them, though, getting to see my kids wake up on Christmas morning
That's
and
cool.
just go nuts as they see whatever present is. They don't have to unwrap it. It's just there is my favorite.
My favorite Christmas tradition is on Christmas Eve. We'd always open one family present that was usually like a board game. And then we'd all get new Christmas pajamas, and then we put on new Christmas
Did y'all
pajamas.
do the cheesy photo and everything?
No,
too?
we did
Oh,
not
okay.
do that. But I still buy myself Christmas pajamas, and so I've got like an entire drawer full of Christmas pajamas. But they're just so fun. You only wear them for one night before it's like, okay, no, it's not.
Yeah, you're not
Christmas
wearing
anymore.
that in June. Yeah.
But
I literally, the last, I think, 2 PJ sets. The last one still has the tags like around it. I've never opened it from last Christmas, and I think maybe the one before as well.
Yeah.
They
I
keep
bought
giving me
him
new ones.
some.
Yeah, they keep giving me new ones, and it's like, I didn't need like the last 5. So I appreciate it, but I'm running out of room in the drawer. So
This is just a fun Will fact. I have I'm anti pajamas. I hate wearing pajamas.
He won't wear them with.
I just can't stand it. I don't know why. It just kind of drives me nuts. But
We need a
Like every-
pajama, gym
episode.
photo
Oh
shoot.
yeah, I don't know, man. People always making the jokes about homeschoolers. Oh, you did school in your pajamas. Like, not me. I never did school in my pajamas.
Basketball shorts and a t-shirt were my
Yep.
PJs growing up, and I can't tell you what it is now. So basketball shorts.
We're gonna have to cut that. I'm just kidding. All right, your turn.
I have a couple. So my family, my immediate family, we always do a dinner together and play games and stuff on Christmas Eve night. So we have family that come in from Colorado and they were from Washington, so all over. And so normally we all spend the night at their house, my parents' house, but that's a little chaotic. So this year will be our first year doing our own, sleep at our own house. But then Christmas morning, we always went to my granny and pa's house, and he would cook a big country ham breakfast, and it was huge. Nice. And so he's passed now, but we still continue doing that, and so I love that. And so we'll make the trek there just for the breakfast, really, and seeing all the family. But yeah, that's probably my top.
So my answer is going to be right now. I love when we go look at Christmas lights and drink peppermint mochas. Just go pick one night and go do that. But the one that I know is going to be my favorite tradition is one we're starting this year, which is we're going to get up early Christmas morning, sit in front of the fireplace, coffee, hot chocolate, whatever, and wait for Jackson to wake up and come run down the stairs and just sit there and enjoy the morning. This will be the first Christmas he's really going to enjoy. So yeah, looking forward to that. Last one. I've gone last every time. Do y'all want me to go first here, I guess? Or best memory of all of us together. This is not really a Christmas one. But we have a lot of memories with you guys. It's crazy to think about. I guess you're the newest edition. Like, you didn't know them when they were married or when they got married. But me and Joe, of course, go back to 2006 or 2007 when Claire was really little, so it had to be back then. And
Luke
then
wasn't even born.
Alyssa came along. 2015 is when we all went on the legendary Scotland trip, or not Scotland? Was it Scotland?
Yeah,
Ireland, Scotland. That's what it was. Ireland, Scotland trip. And then you were the last edition. But so my favorite, I'm probably gonna steal one that y'all are all gonna talk about. Our New York trip was a lot of fun. Our New York trip was that's kind of why I wanted to go first. Not gonna lie. No, because what I love about it was only 4 days. Wasn't a super long trip. Y'all had Harrison. We didn't have any kids, but one of the things I remember is we would go sightsee, had some really nice dinners and whatnot. But at night we'd go into y'all's hotel room and just talk for hours. I remember we would get back to our room at 1 a.m. and goodness gracious, time flew by. That was really fun. That was really special. So that'd probably be number one for me.
I like that. Yeah, I really like that one. I would say our last Florida trip with all of us. I know Joe got sick as usual on vacation.
That's a bummer.
We're talking about the one we went in April, not the January.
Yeah. So it was just us and our kids, and that was great. Just time away and just to chill and, like you said, just talk. We always just have a good conversation.
Yeah. I was gonna say the 2019 New York trip always stands out to me. That is some of the best.
Yeah. Having you guys over since New York's been taken, because that was a great trip. We went on another one too together. I thought
we did Florida,
that one, and I thought we had another one in there. Maybe not. But either way, we've had you guys over for steaks and things like that.
That is true. That's a good one.
Sit around and talk. And there's been a few memorable times of just 2-3 hours of sitting around and talking and about all sorts of different stuff. And that's always the best, anytime we have that.
Sorry, I was thinking one of them is you guys hosted a Valentine's Day party a couple years ago, and we played the Newlywed Game, and that has to be one of my favorite memories. Actually,
that was a great one.
That was fun. We gotta do that again next year. It's coming up soon. We gotta plan that. Yeah, that was fun. There's a lot we could go into, but we are an hour in. Really, I wonder what percentage of people stuck around for this whole episode, but little self-indulgent, but. No, I appreciate everybody watching and listening. We're 99 episodes in. Really looking forward to the next episode as we kind of celebrate, commemorate episode 100. But I want to thank you two for being willing to make your debuts with us. And they took a little convincing. Yep. Took a little bit of convincing to get them to do it.
You guys did great.
Yeah, it was great. One take for the most part. And so
now we get to go get dinner.
Yeah, now it's dinner time. But thank you for watching and listening. Joe, do you have any closing comments?
No, I hope everybody has a very, very Merry Christmas. We are obviously going to be enjoying it with our families. We hope you enjoy it with yours. And again, stay tuned for next episode because that will be episode 100. It will also drop on the 31st. So we have a really good episode. We're also we got some things that we're going to get into for our 100th that we are very, very excited about. But yeah, just to echo, thank you to both of you two for showing up. And thank you for sticking with us. If you have stuck with us this long, we know this is long, but we also are not going to have them on all the time. So,
What?
Yeah, they're not going to be regular features.
No,
Yeah.
probably not again. No, but no, we appreciate you guys sticking around.
All right, so with that, join us next week for episode 100, and we'll talk to you then.